might not. Hey everybody, I'm Marsha, I'm an alcoholic. I'll give you some money afterwards, Jennifer, for saying that. My sobriety date is February 1st, 1998. And it might not impress you, but it really impresses me that I've been given this gift of sobriety. Never in a million years would I think when I came in here that I was willing to stay. I have a home group that's called Into Action. We meet every Tuesday night at 8 o'clock. We study a step, and the last Tuesday of the month we do a tradition. If you're ever in Charlotte, please drop by and see us. I love my home group, and I feel like, I'm not able to grow in my sobriety unless I do love my home group, and I need to be accountable, and that's where I'm very accountable. Of course, I only chose one that met one day a week. I'll make note of that. And it took me a while to agree to that, but anyway, I'm supposed to tell you in a general way what I was like, what happened, and what I'm like today, and I'm going to try to do that to the best of my ability. One of my girlfriends was supposed to come, and she ended up not being able to come, so hopefully I tell the truth. I'd like to say that I was born into a fairly loving home. I have a brother who's 14 years older than me and a brother who's 4 years older than me. And then there's me. And my oldest brother I really didn't know. He was from my mother's first marriage, and he was already gone by the time, I don't even remember him being in our house, to be quite honest with you. My other brother, we were pretty close growing up. And like I said, I'd like to say that we had a kind of a normal, happy home. I guess we did. I mean, by the time I was 2, I didn't think so. But I remember maybe I was 2 and a half, and this was the first idea that I think my mother knew that there might be something wrong with me. At Christmas time, we did the presents, and then my parents played Santa Claus and put all our stuff out on the chairs. And of course, I had gotten everything anybody would need, but I didn't get that one thing that I wanted. And I went nuts. Cried, screamed, threw a little tantrum. And I remember my mother saying, "Ed, I think there's something wrong with her." And it wasn't too long after that we went to a psychiatrist. But, I got along pretty well in school. Well, let's go back a little bit. My first episode was in kindergarten. And I went to a church kindergarten, and I was real excited. You got to take a treat. And so my father took me, and we picked out, and y'all are probably too young, but they were called BB bats. Picked out strawberry, chocolate, all those different flavors. And, you felt real good because you got to go around and pass them out to everybody. Well, it got down to there was 2 left, and one was a chocolate and one was a strawberry. And the girl took the strawberry, and I said, "No, you get the chocolate." Anyway, the big argument over that because I hated chocolate. So I got put in timeout, and they told my parents how I acted. So I guess that's a pretty indication how selfish I was in kindergarten. I think I did pretty good through elementary school. I didn't get in any trouble. I do need to say that I was very, very close to my father. It wasn't until I got sober that I realized what a godly man he was. We had to go to church every Sunday. We went when it snowed and there was like 4 other people there. We had to go. And I couldn't tell you a thing the preacher ever said. The only reason I really ever went is because they served Krispy Kreme donuts before church. And we didn't ever get anything like that growing up. So I was willing to get up and get dressed for some donuts. But I do remember my father being very involved in the church, and he was just really a good person, and he really loved me, and I knew that. Now, with my mother, I never felt that feeling like I had with my father. Now, come to find out, I hadn't been a very good child either, and I didn't realize all that either until I got sober. But closer to my father, much more so than my mother, and so when I got into junior high, I started, I started smoking cigarettes because that was a cool thing to do, even though it tasted terrible. I made myself like it. And then I remember probably, it was about I think probably the first time I took a drink, I was 12. And you need to know that there's nobody in my house that drank. Nobody. Now, alcoholism runs in my family. Come to find out, my father's mother was a severe alcoholic, and she died when she was about 39 years old. But anyway, no alcohol in the family, and alcohol. Neither one of my parents drank, and even my brother didn't really drink. And one time we were coming home from church, and we had been out. Oh, I can't remember where, but we didn't finish all our beer, and so I brought it home and put it in the bushes. And we drove up, you know, and I guess it was probably had to be my mother. She said, well, what is that, you know? They got out and they said, well, that's some beer. Whose is that? You know, and I said, it's not mine, you know. My brother said, well, it's not mine. I said, well, it has to be yours. So, I mean, I lied from the get-go. So I never had to pay any consequences for that episode. And I used to have, there were about 4 or 5 of us girls who liked to drink on the weekends. And they had fake IDs. And that's basically kind of how my drinking started, was just, you know, go out on Friday nights. We used to get a couple cases, and there was only 4 of us. So that would be a pretty good indication that we liked it. Of course, we also hung out with some boys that never had any money, and we had to pay for everything and give them the beer. So I still know some of those boys today, too, and I remind them of that. But they're also in the program. I guess, you know, maybe by the time I was about 14, I was beginning to get in just a little bit of trouble. My parents, they never went out of town or did anything, but somehow they both were gone at the same time. And my brother wasn't home, so I decided I was going to take the car out. Now, I didn't know how to drive. I hadn't had any experience driving, but I was going to do it anyway. And I lived up near Myers Park Country Club, and that's where all the wealthy people went. We were not wealthy. We didn't belong there. But anyway, I decided I was going to drive up there because all my friends were hanging out around the pool, and I could drive by and be real cool. Well, I was real cool, all right. I wrecked into a car, and I gunned it home, put the car in the driveway, and went upstairs. And I don't know how long it was, but there was a knock at the door. I heard my mother say, good Lord, there's a policeman at the door. And I thought, oh my God. So she opened the door, you know, and then she started screaming for me to come down there. And, you know, he proceeded to tell us that somebody had seen our car do a hit and run up there at the country club. And she said, well, it has to be you. I said, well, it certainly wasn't. I said, I don't even know how to drive. I mean, I lied. I mean, I just never let it. I mean, of course it was me, and of course they knew it was me, but I never would admit it. I just said that wasn't me. I don't know what happened. Somebody must have taken the car. So I really didn't get in a lot of trouble there because, you know, nobody really could prove it, even though we all knew it was me. You know, it's crazy how much I would lie. And I mean, even though you knew that I did it, I was still going to tell you I didn't. So I didn't get any trouble for that. I think my dad, you know, told me about it and straightened up. He wasn't going to let me get my license when I turned 16. So, you know, basically just kind of kept hanging out, drinking a little bit on the weekends. And, you know, I never really was good at school. I mean, you know, the same thing probably most of y'all have on the report card. I had bad conduct, but, you know, they said, you know, I can't even remember that expression, but, you know, you have the ability to exceed. Well, I didn't want to exceed in school. I just wanted to have a good time. So by the time I got to high school, you know, I was getting a little bit wilder on the weekends. And by wilder, I mean the girls, there's about, like I said, 4 or 5 of us, and we'd get a couple cases of beer, and there'd be a big football game. And we'd go buy 2 cases of tomatoes and drive through the school parking lot and slam all the cars with tomatoes. We were like hoodlums, I mean, literally. And we're still all friends today. Well, 4 of us. It's really kind of a neat thing. And they're not in here, and I don't understand that, because they drank like I did. But anyway, one Friday night, we decided to jump over the fence instead of paying. You know, because we were going to spend our money with drinking. So I went to school on Monday morning and they called my name over the loudspeaker that I needed to go to the principal's office, and I thought, well, what in the world? So I went up there and he proceeded to tell me that he saw me and my two friends, you know, crawl over the gate or the fence or whatever, and that we were going to be suspended for doing that. I was like, suspended? And I knew my parents would kill me. I said, well, I'll just quit. So I did. I quit school in the 10th grade. Me and the other girl did, and you know, I have to say we had a pretty good time because her parents didn't work, and that's where, you know, we would drink and party and do whatever. Now, eventually it got a little bit old because everybody else was in school, and my parents were none too happy. And in fact, I think that's probably maybe the first time we went to a psychiatrist, and we went as a family, and they all ganged up on me. I'm gonna tell you that right now. They started talking about me and I started crying. And my daddy said, that's it, we're leaving, and I never had to go again. So obviously nothing got solved there, but anyway, you know, just hanging out, did go back to school in the 11th grade because like I said, you know, we were the only two not going, so after a while it's pretty boring being with the same person every day. And there was more action at the school than there was at her house, so went back to school and, you know, same thing. You know, I went to class. I mean, I just didn't care about school. You know, I know y'all hear this, and it's so true, you know. I really never felt like I fit in anywhere until I started smoking cigarettes, because that's what the cool girls were doing, and until I started drinking, because that's what the cool girls were doing. And, you know, when I drank, it made me feel great. I felt like I was the best lover in the world, best dancer, everything. I could do everything great. And, you know, most of it's not true. So, I'll tell you, when the real tragedy for me happened is I never knew my father was sick, and he died one night at our house, and I had no idea he was sick. He'd been sick for a year, but my mother wouldn't tell me. And I was 16, and I'll just have to say that was the most unreal experience I've ever gone through in my life. And all I wanted to do was not feel what I was feeling. I didn't care. I just didn't want to feel. And, you know, it was really rough because it was just me and my mother. And if you remember, we don't really get along that well. And I've got to live with her now. And she's grieving, and it's, you know, I'm just drinking. I just start drinking. You know, I didn't know how to handle death, and I didn't have anybody to help me to handle death. And she was in her own grieving process, so it was very, very hard. You know, and I'm sure I'd like to tell you that I wanted to go to college. I didn't. If I did, it would just be to find a man to get married. So I had no ambition as far as education. I believe I went to beauty school for about a month, dropped out of that. And my mother had to work hard to pay for whatever I wanted to do because, you know, she had never had to work and now she was working. So I think that probably made her a little resentful towards me too, because, you know, I wasn't doing anything with my life. And again, you know, I just didn't know I did not know how to handle situations at all without drinking. And I have to say too, you know, I hear a lot of people say that, you know, they didn't enjoy drinking. I had a lot of fun drinking. A lot of fun when I was young. I mean, we did crazy things. I mean, we had some of the best times. And like I said, some of these girlfriends, we're still really close, you know, but they didn't end up here, you know, which still blows my mind that they can drink normal, because they didn't then. But we just had so much fun. And, you know, so I decided there wasn't really anything I wanted to do education-wise, so I just decided, you know, maybe I'd get a job in a bar. Pretty good place. So I started out waiting tables, and, you know, made pretty good money. And I think at this point my mother had kind of moved on, and she was just probably trying to get over my father's death and do the best she could. So I was working, and, you know, my drinking really didn't interfere too much then, with my job, because I worked at night and I waited till we got done and then we'd start drinking. And back then, God, you'd stay out till 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning drinking. And, didn't have to get up and go to work till 5, so it didn't make any difference. Now, I never had any money because I spent it all on drinking. But I remember I decided to go somewhere with a girlfriend of mine, and we went up to this bar. Now, I really did want to be married. Now, that's one thing I knew I wanted, was to be married and have a family. Now, I don't know where I got that from necessarily, but that's what I wanted. So we were in this bar one night drinking, and I saw this man. He was really cute. And my friend said, no, don't look at him. I said, why? She said, he's married. And I said, so? Now, I had definitely been raised with morals. Definitely been raised with morals. And I knew right from wrong. But when I was drinking, I didn't care about anything. But she kept trying to sway me to look at this other guy. Well, anyway, long and short of it is, I never said I had an affair, but I guess that's really what it was with this man. And, it's amazing how when you're drinking and partying and having a good time, I thought I was doing his wife a favor, because obviously he didn't want to be at home. And that's just not the case. But that's how delusional my thinking was. And he had 2 young kids. Well, not too young, but young children. Anyway, today I know that's not the right thing to do. But we ended up staying together for a couple of years. You like that? He's married, but we're together. And I ended up getting pregnant. And, I'd always wanted to have a child. So we have a daughter together today. And I'm here to report he's my very best friend. And that's probably about 30 years now. We never got married. He left his wife, but and I'm glad we didn't get married, because I still had a lot of drinking and a lot of wildness to get out of my system. So needless to say, I put my child into a lot of situations that, today, being sober, I would never do. But once I started drinking, and it's funny, I was talking to somebody last night, and they said, well, I never really thought you were an alcoholic. I love it when they say that. How would you think I was or I wasn't? And he said, well, you never drank in the morning. And I'm thinking, no, I didn't. But when I drank, I could not stop. And, he said, I don't need anybody to convince me I'm not one. I know I am. But I didn't drink in the morning, and I didn't drink every day. And if I tell the truth, it's because usually I was too physically sick after drinking for 2 or 3 nights in a row. I couldn't drink for a day or two. So I had this child, and tried to work at night, and had babysitters. And I can't tell you how many babysitters I went through, probably in about a period of 6 months, because, restaurant that I worked in closed at 10, so I should be home by 11. I'd get home at 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. These young girls, they couldn't do that. And I thought there was something wrong with them. I thought, what's the big deal that I came in that late? You're asleep anyway. What difference does it make? It's amazing how we think when we're drinking. We think of nobody but ourselves. So I couldn't keep a babysitter. I just couldn't. So I guess at some point her dad started helping out some. I can't remember. We went through a period of time where we didn't speak to each other. And I went on, and proceeded to party and do what I like to do. And, was able to pay the bills. And, I'd like to say that I had everything on, and I did. I had a nice car, not a nice home, but a decent home. And, I always had to look nice. No matter what was going on, you had to look good. And my daughter was always well-dressed and fed. Now, was I a good mother? No. I did the best I could back then. And I know that today. She suffered a lot from this disease. Because if y'all are like me, once you start, you can't quit. And you're not really thinking about a baby. Or I didn't. I think we're saving her a seat in here too one day if she decides that she'd like to try it, but she's not too interested. But anyway, I went on just doing my regular thing, drinking and partying, waiting tables, bartending, I bartended at a great place. We'd close up, we'd all, about 5 of us sit there, and we'd all go through the book and make every drink that you've never heard of and drink it. I mean, that's what I'm telling you. I had some good times. I mean, I really did. And I really didn't suffer a whole lot of consequences out there. I never got a DUI. I should have had 15 to 20. You know, it's just back in that period of time, it's not like it is now. You know, a policeman would let you go home, which is crazy. But they would back then. So, I was still having fun, working at a nightclub and, you know, enjoying myself. But some of the things in my life were getting in the way. One was her daddy. You know, he was talking about, you know, how late I stayed out. Not that we weren't together, but just, I guess, you know, hearing what was going on. And my mother was always complaining to me about what kind of mother I was. And I thought, well, I've had it with this. So I went to a psychologist. And I went to him, God knows, probably for about 4 years, bless his heart. I mean, really. I'll back up just a little bit. I did go, one time I thought there was something kind of really wrong with me, so I did go see a psychiatrist, and he gave me some kind of pills to take or whatever, and it made me really crazy, so I quit taking them. But I knew there was something wrong, you know, and never in a million years did I know it was the alcohol. I just thought, I'm going crazy and there's something wrong. So I kind of agreed to go into the hospital, you know, just for a couple of days. I didn't really have a clue what I was getting myself into. It wasn't treatment. I was going up to the psych ward. So I had no idea that's what I was doing. But I went up there and they started showing me around and told me what I could do, and, you know, TV time and all this, and then here's your room, and when you go to bed, we're locking the door. I said, no, you're not. They said, we lock everybody in. I said, I'm out of here. So I've never even spent the night there. I don't know if it would have helped me or not, but you're not locking me in. We can't do that. So I started seeing this counselor, and God, I really liked him, you know, because he listened to me, and he said, yeah, your mother really is, yeah, she's probably hard to deal with. You know, I thought, yes, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And, you know, and he tried to help me as best he could. He even brought my mother in one time for a session. And, you know, afterwards, you know, he said, I see how hard it is for you. But after probably about a year, he brought up my drinking. He said, you know, how much do you drink? And I said, what does that have to do with anything? I said, not much, anyway. You know, a couple of beers after work or whatever. Yeah, it's amazing how they know that we lie. At least a good person who has any inkling of what alcoholism is. And so every week he brought up that drinking. And I said, you know, I'm getting tired of us talking about that. And he said, well, I'd like for you to maybe try to quit. And I said, why? I told you I only drink a couple of beers at night, you know. And he said, well, would you just even be willing to try? And, you know, I guess at this particular point in my life, you know, all the stuff on the outside looked good, but the stuff on the inside was really bad. You know, I was just in a lot of pain. And I thought, well, I don't think he has a clue of what he's talking about, but I'll give it a shot. You know, so I said, okay, I'll, you know, try to do it for 1 week. And I don't know about y'all, but that was like almost impossible. You know, first of all, how was I going to have fun? I mean, what do you do if you're not drinking at the bar? So I guess somehow I made it that 1 week or whatever, and then he brought up AA, and I said, what? And he said, I really think you need to go to Alcoholics Anonymous. I said, well, I don't have time for that. I said, I work, I have a child, I'm coming to see you, that's good enough. And he really was a very good professional person, and he said, really, you know, you can come see me all you want to, but you won't get what you need if you don't go to Alcoholics Anonymous. And I said, well, you know, I'm not going, and I didn't for who knows how long. And I had a friend one time call me up and ask me if I wanted to go to a meeting. I mean, of course he knew I was alcoholic, and I said, well, you know, I'll give it a shot and see what it's like. Because I don't know about y'all, but my perception of an alcoholic really is somebody who lives under a bridge. I didn't know it was people, you know, doctor, dentist, all of us. I mean, you know, my perception was you were homeless. That's all I knew. So he said, you know, let's go to this meeting. So I went. I looked at everybody and I thought, God, y'all don't look very good. And of course, you know I didn't. But everybody was real nice. And you know, I thought, oh, God. I said, let's go. So anyway, he's driving me home and he said, well, I'll pick you up tomorrow at the same time. I said, I don't think so. He said, well, they meet. I said, I don't want to go again. You know, that was enough. So he left me alone, I guess, for a couple more days. And, you know, I don't know. It's just, y'all were happy. And like I said, you didn't look like people I wanted to hang out with necessarily. And I still was fighting that. How was I ever going to have a good time if I didn't drink? And I believe that. 100%. How would I ever have fun? And actually, for a year, I went without drinking and sat at a bar about every night. Now, you want to do something miserable, do that. You know, watching everybody else drink, and you're drinking Diet Coke. I mean, I was thinking, why can't they come up with non-alcoholic White Russian? I was thinking of all kinds of crazy things. Like, that didn't make any difference because it wasn't going to change the way I felt. But I just didn't want to quit drinking. I mean, number one, I never saw that alcohol was really the problem. Because as I said to you early on, I was selfish and self-centered as a young kid. So what did alcohol really have to do with it? And I don't know what happened, but at some point, I guess, you know, I became willing to go to that meeting again. He took me over there, and, you know, it's funny because I don't know about y'all. I really don't remember much about the first meeting I went to other than you were happy. And you were very nice. And that scared me that you were so nice. I thought, what do you want? You know, not that I had anything, but, you know, why were you being so nice? So after a while, he took me to a couple of different meetings. And of course, you know, guys aren't supposed to be taking girls, but, you know, I didn't know any of that and didn't care. And he took me to a meeting. He said, you know, you need to start looking at the women and, you know, going up and talking to them. I said, I'm not talking to any women. I mean, I liked my girlfriends I drank with, and that was all I was interested in. I liked men much more than I liked women. I think most women do. It's changed since I've gotten sober, but, you know, he told me I needed to start trying to find a woman that, you know, maybe had something I wanted. I was like, what are you talking about? Now, he's trying to tell me I needed a sponsor. I said, well, whatever. So he picked out somebody for me one day. And said, you know, this Marsha, and introduced us and whatever, and said, you know, she needs a sponsor. So, you know, I don't know that I asked her, but anyway, she said, well, we'll meet such and such night, and, you know, you pray about it. And I thought, pray about it? What is going on here? I mean, because I didn't have a clue. So we met at a restaurant a couple nights after that and started talking. I felt like I was going on an interview or something. I didn't know what a sponsor was, but why was I having to go through all this? You know, so we met, she asked me some questions, and I didn't have a clue what she was talking about, but I remember her saying, you know, will you be willing to go to any lengths to stay sober? And I was like, I guess. I mean, I didn't have a clue. Now, trust me, when I said yes, I didn't know what was about to come. I'm sure I would have said no. And I'll tell you to this day, that woman was, I don't even know how she put up with me, but she did, and she was a very kind and loving spiritual woman. Because, you know, we all have different experiences. You know, some people say they, you know, walked right in, they did everything you told them to do. Well, I was the belligerent one. You know, she told me, you know, I need to call her at 8:30 every day, Monday through Friday. I said, I don't get up that early. And I'm not going to get up that early. You know, I thought, who is she to try to, I mean, I just could not understand this. Of course, eventually I called her. I mean, I don't know that I called her at 8:30, but we began to have a relationship. And I'll have to say she had something that I did want. She was always happy, always smiling, never, you know, irritable, restless, and discontent like I was. So I began to listen to a few things, a few suggestions. If you could do it all wrong, I did it all wrong. You know, and I don't today when I sponsor women, I don't recommend you do it that way, but I also believe we get here how we get here. If I'd had a sponsor that said, if you don't do this, you don't do that, I'd have said, I'm out of here. I needed exactly who I had at the time. And, I worked with her for a couple of years, and she probably told me to do something I didn't want to do, so I got another sponsor. Today I'm not like that. It's kind of amazing how in our journey, you know, I look back how I used to be and what I'm like today, and I can assure you I'm nowhere near what I want to be, but I'm better than I used to be. Today I have a sponsor that I just absolutely love, and you know, the funny thing about that is I was probably about maybe 8 years sober, something like that, and one of her good friends, we were all at a gathering, and my sponsor was getting ready to move, and she said, you have to have a sponsor before I leave. I thought, here we go again, you know. I thought I was doing pretty good. I don't know why I had to get another one. So we were at this gathering, and she said, okay, there's this lady and this lady. You pick one of them, and that's going to be your sponsor. And I thought, well, I didn't want to pick one of them because I kind of liked her as a friend. And the other one, I didn't really even know. And I'll never, she tells us when she gives my chip, she said, when she saw me come across that room, she said she thought, dear God, don't come up to me. I mean, she'll tell you. And so I went up and answered, and you know, we're taught to say yes, or where I come from, you're taught to say yes. If anybody ever asks for help, you're to be there. And you know, so I'm sure she's biting her tongue saying yes. You know, and I don't even remember that I was that bad, but she reminds me that I was, which I guess is a good thing. You know, today, God, my life is so good in so many ways. I will say the first thing that when I came in these rooms, what attracted me to y'all was I heard people in here that had lost a child, or whose husband had died, or whose father or mother had died, and I thought, how'd you not drink? And how are you sitting in here smiling and you're not having to drink? I could not believe that. You know, and of course we're told, you know, if we do go through the steps, we'll be able to walk through anything with God's help and with the help of y'all. And I'm going to tell y'all this absolutely for no sympathy, but to tell you how strong the program of Alcoholics Anonymous is. I was probably about 3 years sober and found out I had cancer. And, you know, that's something big, so I could give that to God. If it's little, I'm going to mess it. But you're going to give that to God because He's got, you know, whatever the outcome is. And I had surgery, and, you know, it was a very hard time. And I had just gotten home, and maybe been home about a week, and I got a phone call that my daughter had tried to commit suicide and was in intensive care on life support. I mean, so I've just had a mastectomy, getting ready to do chemo, and I've got to go to where she is. You know, I'm not thinking about anything but just getting there. You know, that's my job, because here's that child that I wasn't very good to as a young child. And she made it, you know, and ended up trying to get her some help. And I got back home, and this was in July for cancer, and then August she did that, and then my sister-in-law of 25 years committed suicide. Now, I tell you that because if I was ever going to drink, I believe I was going to drink then, because I thought, I can't handle one more thing. Mentally, physically, emotionally, any of it. And I was very close to my sister-in-law, and come to find out, she was suffering from alcoholism. I've been around her for 25 years. Never did I see her stumble. I mean, when I'm drunk, I'm falling all over the place, you know, so I didn't even really know she was drinking. And, you know, unfortunately, they kept it a secret. And they did try to get her some help, but she didn't want any help. You know, but I tell you all that because during all that time, I just didn't even know how I was going to get through one more day. You know, it was people in the room of Alcoholics Anonymous who, you know, when I didn't want to go to a meeting, they came and got me. You know, if for whatever reason, my sponsor, I mean, you know, it's amazing what we do for each other. I mean, absolutely amazing. I also had a big breakup in the rooms, and he was at my home group too, if you can believe that. And broke up with me, and then tried to stay at my home group. I thought, I'm halfway kidding about that, but the seriousness of it is I really thought I was gonna die. You know, first time in probably 25 years, I thought I was just gonna die. Now I didn't want to drink, but I could not stand the way I was feeling, and I didn't know what I was gonna do. Didn't want to go to meetings, you know, because I might see him. Didn't want to do that. And thank God for the women in our lives, you know, that would not let me stay in that spot. That came over to my house, picked me up. Now, I didn't look good in the meeting. I'd cry. I mean, I might not talk to anybody, but at least I was sitting in a meeting of Alcoholics Anonymous. And, you know, they made sure I did that till I got to the other side of that. And I'm here to report I didn't die from it. And I thought I would. So the power of Alcoholics Anonymous blows my mind sometimes. I always said I wanted to have my own business, own my own restaurant. Well, I do. And I really and truly say be careful what you ask for. I love the bar business, the restaurant business. I always have. It's all I've ever done. I don't like being, well, I want to be the boss, but I don't want to be the boss. You know, and I share my home group a lot, you know. We are supposed to set an example, be an example of the big book. And if you come into my restaurant, look at how I act sometimes, you aren't going to want what I have. And I have to keep remembering that, you know, and not try to do the same thing over and over again. But it's the hardest place for me to practice the principles. I can practice them with you. I can practice them, well, with everybody in my family except my daughter. She still pushes all the buttons, but I'm working on that. But work it's just hard, you know, and I believe God has me there for a reason. If nothing else, to learn how to treat people. Now, I treat the customers great, don't get me wrong about that, but, you know, it's just been really hard. And people, of course, think if you have your own business, you know, you don't work or you don't do anything, you're rich. And I'm like, really? Really? Well, I'll trade with you one day, because that's far from the truth. You work your butt off, but at the same time, you know, what a gift that I've been given this opportunity. You know, there's so many times I look at what's not good that I forget to look at what really is good. You know, I'm healthy today. I'm sober, which is a miracle to me, because I just told you all those things that would have caused me to go out and stay out. So if I hadn't had some kind of spiritual awakening and I didn't have contact with God, I wouldn't be here talking to y'all tonight. Because left up to me, I'm going to change the way I feel inside. And thank goodness I'm learning to live a different life today. And I'm okay most of the time with who I am. If I'm mean or, you know, if I do something wrong, it doesn't take long for me to say, okay, you know, I need to make an amends to that person. It doesn't feel good to me. And when I was drinking, I loved to cuss you out. You know, because it made me feel better. I mean, I used to, that's another whole story. I was probably not the most pleasant drunk you've ever met, but I don't know that any of us are. But I think really the blessing for me is that I've just really had the willingness to stay and to try to grow. We were talking the other day about early sobriety. And early sobriety is really tough. But the longer I'm here, the more I know I need to do. You know, back then I did as little as I could to get by. And today, if I want to grow and change and be of service, which is what we're supposed to be, of maximum service, I need to do everything I can and be available. And that's a hard balance sometimes for me. But like I said, I have a great sponsor. I have a great home group. Have a lot of good women in my life. Few men I like. But I was taught early on to stick with the women. You know, and that was hard for me because I didn't really like y'all. And I didn't think you liked me either. But you know, it's all what we're willing to do when we get here. You know, you can sit there and have your head down, come in late, leave early. I did all that stuff. And even today, I have to practice going up and trying to talk to different people. you know, because it's easy for me just to talk to the people I know and go on home. My sponsor's very big on that I go around and shake everybody's hand in my home group. She said, I don't care if you know them or you don't know them. I'm like, okay, whatever. You know, I try not to roll my eyes at her because she'll let me know immediately if I do. She'll call you out real quick, but you know, and going through the steps, I've gone through them more than once. When I changed sponsors, I've always had to go back through the steps, which I think has been a big blessing for me. You know, that fourth and fifth step, whew, that was the hardest thing I ever did. And the greatest relief I ever got. And you know, you get to the ninth step, and my daughter's father, who I told you about, you know, I did a lot of harm to that man, a lot of harm. And I made amends to him. He didn't have a clue what I was doing, not a clue, you know. But I've been able to honor that amends today. You know, I treat him the way he deserves to be treated. I don't know about y'all, but that's huge for me, because I always treated you however I wanted to treat you. And like I said, we have the best relationship of any two people. Now, we're not back together, that ain't gonna happen, but friend-wise, we're very, very close, and have a pretty good connection trying to help our daughter, who really does suffer from some mental illness, and you know, a lot of it's due to me. You know, the best thing I could do today is to try to be a kind and loving mother to her. And I am here to report that that's one of the hardest things I have to do. Because she likes to bring up the past, likes to throw it in my, you know, and that's okay, because that's what we do. That's what I did. You know, I did the same thing to my mother. So for me, it's just remembering, you know, the things I've been taught here in Alcoholics Anonymous, which is to be a good mother, to be a good sister. I don't have a husband, or I try to be a good wife. And be the best we can, and treat people the way we want to be treated. And you know, I don't know about y'all, but that's a miracle, because I didn't care about any of that stuff when I came here. All I came here for was to feel better, and then I was getting the hell out of here. And it's 16 years later. I try to go to 3 or 4 meetings a week, because if I go to less, I'm not a very nice person. You know, I'm not going to drink. It's not my drinking that scares me anymore. It's the way I behave. And I have to keep asking God to help me. So thank you, Jennifer, very much for asking me. I really appreciate it.